Josh Grisetti's family has launched a memorial fundraiser after the Broadway actor, television performer, and educator died on July 10th at age 44. The campaign is intended to support his wife and family through final arrangements and urgent travel, while any money remaining afterward is designated for an organization providing mental health support to entertainment professionals. But the most important question surrounding this update is not what private circumstances led to his death, because no verified public answer has been provided. It is how his family is asking the creative community to respond now. For verified entertainment updates without the rumors, subscribe to Startline Entertainment. Grisetti's death has been publicly reported as suicide. His longtime friend and Something Rotten co-star Rob McClure announced the news in a personal statement, and people subsequently confirmed the death. The sources reviewed for this report do not include a public medical examiner report, and no details about the circumstances, method, or motive should be inferred or repeated as fact. The newest development came directly from a campaign organized under the name of the Grisetti family, titled With Love for Josh Grisetti and His Family. The fundraiser says contributions will cover final arrangements, provide essential assistance to relatives, and help bring loved ones together during a time-sensitive period. The page explains that the campaign was created after friends, colleagues, and community members repeatedly asked how they could help. When the fundraiser was reviewed on July 15th, it displayed $32,467 from 421 donations. That total is changing as contributions continue, so it should be described with a date rather than presented as a permanent final figure. People had separately reported that the campaign had passed $32,000 by the time its article was published. The campaign's purpose extends beyond immediate expenses. Grisetti's family states that any money not required for arrangements, family support, and related logistics will be donated to the Entertainment Community Fund in his memory. That decision connects the fundraiser directly to an organization serving performers, crew members, and other professionals facing the pressures and instability associated with careers in the arts. The Entertainment Community Fund's official mental health program offers assessments, crisis counseling, referrals for continuing treatment, and industry-focused support groups. It says performing arts and entertainment professionals throughout the United States may contact the program for assistance, information, or referrals, and that its services are handled with privacy and confidentiality. That destination for the remaining funds is important because it shows how Grisetti's family has chosen to define the public response. The campaign does not ask strangers to investigate his final days or turn his death into a theory. It asks supporters to help relieve immediate burdens on his loved ones and, where possible, strengthen resources for other people working in the creative industries. Grisetti's professional life moved across Broadway, television, regional theater, and university classrooms. The Broadway League's official database records his Broadway appearances in It Shoulda Been You and Something Rotten, as well as a one-night benefit performance of Camelot. He later toured nationally as Nigel Bottom in Something Rotten. His stage recognition began before those two best-known Broadway productions. Grisetti received a Theatre World Award in 2009 for Enter Laughing the Musical and earned a Drama Desk nomination for that performance. He received another Drama Desk nomination in 2015 for playing Marty Kaufman in It Shoulda Been You. In Something Rotten, he took over the role of Nigel Bottom on Broadway in July 2016 and remained through the production's January 2017 closing. He then originated the role on the national tour, performing alongside Rob McClure, whose friendship with Grisetti continued beyond their work together. Television viewers may recognize him as Ralph, one of the comedy writers working with Midge Maisel during the final season of Amazon's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Cal State Fullerton described the part as a recurring role and reported that Grisetti brought what he learned during the production back into his teaching. That teaching role was not a secondary entry on his resume. The university's faculty materials listed Grisetti as head of musical theater, where he taught acting, musical theater, and the business of theater. A 2023 university profile showed how closely he connected his continuing professional work with classroom instruction, explaining auditions, callbacks, and changing industry practices to students preparing for their own careers. The profile also captured an important part of his approach as an educator. Grisetti spoke about allowing students to follow the process behind his Mrs. Maisel role from audition through production. He used his own current experiences to make the entertainment business less abstract for performers who would soon have to navigate it themselves. That educational work helps explain why the reaction to his death reached well beyond former castmates. Grisetti was remembered not only for what audiences saw on stage, but for the time he spent preparing young performers for an industry that can be rewarding, unpredictable, and intensely competitive. McClure's public tribute described the difficulty of processing the loss and directed attention toward Grisetti's wife and family. Sierra Bogus, who appeared opposite him in It Shoulda Been You, remembered his humor, intelligence, and influence as an actor, director, writer, and teacher. Their statements were expressions of grief and personal remembrance, not explanations of why he died. That distinction must remain clear. Affectionate tributes can establish how colleagues experienced a person's character and work. They cannot provide a clinical account of someone's private mental health, and they should not be rearranged into a diagnosis after the fact. The same caution applies to social media activity from the days before his death. Entertainment Weekly reported that Grisetti had recently stepped away from directing a production for personal reasons and had posted a message thanking its performers. No verified source reviewed here establishes that the post explained his death or should be interpreted as a warning sign. Turning it into one would impose meaning that Grisetti himself did not publicly provide. The public timeline that can be stated responsibly is much narrower. Grisetti died on Friday, July 10th. McClure announced the news publicly and entertainment outlets reported it on July 12th. By July 15th, the Grisetti family had established a fundraiser for arrangements, family support, and travel with excess funds directed to the Entertainment Community Fund. No public memorial date was included in the sources reviewed for this package. The fundraiser does not disclose private financial information, medical history, or the details of the family's arrangements. Those omissions should be respected rather than treated as unanswered clues. Here is the start line takeaway. The new development is not an explanation of Josh Grisetti's death. It is a clear statement about what his loved ones need immediately and how they want his name connected to the wider creative community. Their priorities are practical support, time to grieve, and assistance for entertainment professionals who may face mental health crises of their own. The timing matters because the initial coverage focused primarily on the loss and the emotional reaction from Broadway. The family's campaign now gives that public response a defined direction. It supports Grisetti's wife and relatives first, while establishing the Entertainment Community Fund as the eventual beneficiary of any remaining money. Viewers should not assume that public success, creative ability, steady employment, marriage, or a teaching position reveals everything about a person's internal life. They also should not conclude that friends, relatives, colleagues, or students could necessarily have predicted or prevented what happened. None of those claims is supported by the available public record. The verified summary is that Josh Grisetti was a 44-year-old actor and educator whose career included recognized stage performances, 2 major Broadway musicals, a national tour, television work, and leadership within Cal State Fullerton's musical theater program. After his death on July 10th, his family launched a fundraiser to cover immediate arrangements and family needs. Any funds left after those costs are intended for the Entertainment Community Fund. What remains unresolved is private and should stay private unless Grisetti's authorized representatives or family choose to release further information. What has been made public is the request for support and the legacy his colleagues, students, and family are choosing to emphasize. If this story brings up difficult feelings, support is available. In the United States, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline can be reached by calling or texting 988. It is available every day, at any hour, and conversations are free and confidential.